You're with friends. Someone says something that offends you, but you laugh, you nod, you move the conversation forward. You even make a joke to smooth the energy. And no one thinks anything is wrong. Not even you at first, because you've trained yourself to stay liked, to be agreeable, polished, effortless. But the moment you leave, the weight hits. You start replaying what you should have said. You feel embarrassed for letting it slide. You get angry, not at them, but at you. And here's the twist. You don't hate them for crossing a line. You hate yourself for disappearing when it mattered. That's the real reason most people don't like themselves. Not because they're weak or lazy, but because they've learned to abandon themselves in real time to protect a role, a relationship, a sense of control. The more you do that, the more automatic it becomes. Until one day, you don't even know what you would have said, because the version of you that used to speak up hasn't shown up in years. Most people assume self-hate comes from failure. But for high-functioning people, it often comes from success. Just not the kind of success that feels like yours. You learned early on that being accepted meant being easy. You didn't ask twice. You didn't cry in public. You made yourself useful, predictable, polite. At school, you were the kid who didn't cause trouble. At home, maybe you kept the peace. You were praised for being mature for your age, but what they really meant was, thank you for not having needs we didn't want to deal with. So you learned to find pride in that version of you. The one who could adapt. The one who never made it about them. The one who earned connection by being less inconvenient. But here's the problem. Every time you quieted your truth to keep someone close, you buried a little more of your real self. And now, as an adult, when that buried self tries to come up for air, you don't know what to do with it. You shut it down again. Because liking yourself would mean liking the version of you that you've spent your whole life suppressing. And that feels wrong. It feels threatening. It feels like weakness. So instead of learning how to reconnect, you work harder, perform better, stay likable. But inside, the resentment grows. Because no one sees what you had to give up to be this version of you. There's a version of you that people admire. You're competent, you keep it together, you know how to show up when it counts. But here's what no one sees. The praise you get feels like it's going to someone else. Because they're not praising your truth. They're praising your mask, the one you've curated to avoid being too emotional, too intense, too much. So when someone compliments you, there's a split-second hesitation. You smile, but you don't believe it. Because deep down, you don't think they're complimenting the real you. And this is where the self-loathing sets in. You're not walking around thinking, I hate myself. But you constantly second-guess your feelings. You apologize for existing in spaces that are already yours. You chase approval, but never trust it. Because you know, even if no one else does, that the version of you they love was built to survive, not to be known. And if you slowed down long enough to stop performing, if you stopped being the fixer, the calm one, the one who makes everything okay, you're afraid you disappear. That fear is why self-love never lands. That's why affirmations don't sink in, because at the core you still believe, if people saw the unedited version of me, they'd leave. But what's worse is that you've already left yourself. Every time you said yes when you meant no. Every time you laughed off something that hurt. Every time you gave more than you had, just to keep the peace. You taught your nervous system that who you are isn't safe. If this is hitting something real, like the video and subscribe, it tells YouTube to show this to the people who are still stuck performing. The truth is, you were never unlovable. You were just inconvenient to people who didn't know how to love fully, so you adapted. You built an identity that could survive in the conditions you were given. But survival is not the same as selfhood, and now that identity is outdated. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well. You've spent years becoming the version of you that's hard to abandon, but in the process, you abandoned yourself. So how do you come back? Not with motivational slogans, not with forced positivity. You come back by noticing the moments where you disappear, and choosing not to. You stop saying I'm fine when you're not. You stop apologizing for your needs before you've even expressed them. You pause when someone asks your opinion and give the real one, not the safe one. And yes, it will feel wrong at first, because your body was trained to equate authenticity with risk, but slowly, with practice, you'll learn something that changes everything. You don't need to be liked to be safe. You need to be known to be whole. Because the version of you that you don't like isn't broken. It's just buried under 1,000 performances. And if you want to start liking yourself again, you don't need to become someone new. You need to stop editing the person you already are. If this helped bring something into focus, like the video and subscribe for more. And in the comments tell me, what version of you got left behind and are you ready to bring them back? This video is for reflection and education only. It's not therapy or medical advice. Always go at your own pace and get the support you need.